Hello and welcome to European Autocraft Studios. This is not our 944 Turbo project, but we also work on a lot of 928s and a lot of 944, 928 enthusiasts kind of go together here. So we've got a unique problem with this 928 that I just wanted to get out there, and all you 944 guys too. It's a very similar issue where you'd be driving along and your brake pad warning light will just pop on and then go off, and sometimes it's on, sometimes it's not. Well, it's somewhat difficult to diagnose that if you really don't know what direction to go. And I take it for granted because I fix these on a regular basis. And when I finally got to this car, I did the same routine to try to find the problem. And I'm like, wait a minute, I probably should show how to find this problem, because it's very annoying to have this, excuse me, warning light pop up from time to time. This car has all new brakes. Probably from, I don't know, a couple of years ago, but the brake pads are still very good shape. Brake pad sensors are in great shape, and the 928 uses one sensor per pad per wheel. So we have the two sensors that are jumped together, and then we have a connector that comes off of that goes into the harnesses. And we do have an intermittent brake pad warning light on. We don't know why. So I want to go explain real quick how the system works. Each sensor is connected to the other one in a series, just like your old school Christmas lights, where if one goes out, they all go out. So the sensors being in series, the two terminating ends of the series go right into the instrument cluster. This is a 1989, so it's the first year for the digital instrument cluster. The earlier cars had what was called the central informer that take all the signals from brake fluid and brake pads and other sensors, even coolant temperature, and then that central informer sends a signal to the instrument cluster to put the warning light on. So the 89 is sort of unique. In 1990 they added the tire pressure monitor, so we had more connections. The wiring diagram shows a little differently how it's all put together, but every one of them has two wires that go somewhere to read the loop, and that's what we're going to look at in this car. We're going to remove the instrument cluster and get to those two wires that come in, because the digital cluster takes all the signals in. It doesn't use a central informer anymore. So we're going to find that loop, and then we're going to go around the car and see if we can find which area is intermittently open circuit or grounding, because that's either way it'll put the light on. Excuse me. So we're going to go that route and find it that way. It's unlikely that it's a connector. There are connectors inside under the fuse panel that meet the harnesses together, and one in the back. Those aren't out in the weather or being bounced around at the wheels, so unlikely that's the fault. We're probably going to find the fault at a wheel. We usually do. So let's get this going. I'm going to get the meter set up and show you how to get that connected, and then we'll come back and go to each wheel and see if we can pinpoint what area our fault is in, and we'll take it from there. All right, we're inside the car now, just so you get an idea what I'm talking about. The nice thing with the digital dash, it actually spells out what the fault is. Brake pads, service. Okay, well, we're going to get a little deeper into this. We're going to pull the dash and take a measurement on the two wires from the loop that comes back to the dash. If you need any information on how to pull the dash, if you want to do this for your own car, if you have to do it for your own car, just let me know, and I'll try to walk you through it. So, yeah, we'll get this all apart and get this thing connected to the meter, with the meter, and do some checking. Okay, we're here. We removed the instrument cluster. I just left it sitting up in here. These are the connectors on the right side. This is connector 3 and 4. Connectors 1 and 2 are on this side. And really, I don't know if it's the back one that's 1 or the front one that's 1. But it doesn't really matter. I went to the wiring diagram and I found the connections. Plug 4 is pin 9. It's a brown and black wire. That would be this one. There's only one brown and black wire, and it's in cavity number 9. So I'm pretty sure that's it. Our other one is a brown and black as well, and that's pin 1 and plug 3. Well, plug 3 is on this side. It has to be the other plug. And on pin 1, I have a brown and black wire. So that's our loop. These, regardless of where these sensors are and where they go, they end up here. So I am now reading the loop, and I have 7.7 megohms, which is pretty much an open circuit. That's enough to put a light on. We want to get as close to 0 ohms as possible. So now what I'm going to do, we're going to go under the car and go to each corner of the wheel and see if by moving anything and it disconnecting or wiggling wires, we see a change in this. And this is good for really any kind of circuit, that like interior lights or anything like that. And one day I'll show you my light bulb fuse trick. That's not the same as what we're doing here, but it's the same idea, is putting something in line and then moving things around to see what changes. Sort of like the wiggle test that you hear about from Ford. Ford likes to call it a wiggle test. So that's kind of what we're doing, but we're going to use a meter. So let's get under the car. I'll bring the meter down. I have it connected this way. There's no voltage here at all. This is only a loop of wire through the sensors, a piece of cake. So let's get under the car and we'll see if we can see some changes. All right, we're under the car now. I have some extension wires so I can look at this meter while I'm poking around under here and see if we can see any movement or any change in the meter. This just indicates that we have an open circuit. I went from the auto range feature to a 200 ohm range because we're looking for really 0 ohms or close to 0 ohms. With the auto range, as if you're moving things, it might jump around and change. You're not really going to get a definitive answer right away. We want to know if it's yes or no. We don't need to wait for the ranges to change and do all that kind of crazy stuff. So we want a fixed range of 200 ohms. Your meter might go down to 20 ohms. Just go to the lowest range that you can and lock it there. It's much better. So if we look up here, we've got the we have the ABS wheel speed sensor, a torn boot, which isn't causing any problems, but we're going to get to that later. And our brake pad sensor. Now you can see it's nice and white. It looks fairly new. The brakes haven't been done too long ago. It was fairly recent. We didn't do them here, but they were done. And everything looks good back here, but if you wiggle things around, we have a ground wire. All the little rubber grommets are broken off, so these wires are flopping around back here. So it's always possible that it gets rubs through a piece of sheet metal, the backing plate, anything like that. I don't see any movement here. We're still open circuit. So it's just a quick test to see. I normally do find something, just to let you know. Front, we'll just go around in a circle. If we don't find anything, we'll go to the connectors. But again, right on the caliper, moving things around. We got a harness up here. Tell me we found it already. It's going to make a short video. Look at that. Okay, there it is. Huh. Okay. 19 ohms. Well, that makes sense. It's a very long loop. It goes all the way from one wheel, one pin on this, all the way around the car, back to the other one up at the instrument cluster. So we got about 20 ohms. That's close. That's really good. Wow, I can't believe I found it that quick. Usually it takes me a little longer. Okay, well that's good. So what I'm doing here, it's not the connector in the housing. It's the wire where it goes into. You better get a little closer and look at this. Actually, we need to do some suspension work too, I see. This wire right here, where it goes in, is what I'm moving. Look at that. So that's what I'm moving. So when it first came in, the light wasn't on, and then I drove it, and the light came on. So as this wire bounces around under here, it's making this loop open circuit. So that's what that is. Okay, so we now have the wheel. We know it's at this wheel. And just by chance, I grabbed the top wire there and the main, let's see if I can show you here. The cable where it actually comes into the connector housing. So this must have been flopping around. The bracket's broken. You know, these cars are getting old. A lot of strange things can happen. And it's just this where it goes in. I'm surprised it's not having an ABS warning, because there's the ABS wires. All the insulation, the outer insulation is gone. But, well, that's our fault. So we're going to replace this harness. If I think these harnesses are still available, I'll find out. I'm pretty sure they are. If not, we could probably cut the top of this open and split it open and repair the broken wire in there, but boy, that would be a lot of work. So I think it'd be better to get a used one if we can't get a new one. So that's it, just a quick little tidbit of how I would diagnose the brake pad warning. Luckily, I actually find it pretty quick. So I'm happy to see that. So we're going to replace that harness. That should take care of our intermittent brake warning light, brake pad warning. So yeah, check out our YouTube channel, the 944 Turbo Restoration Project. There's going to be a lot more coming up, a lot more 928 stuff. There's an 86 928 that we have that's going to need a full restoration. One day we'll get to that. Just keep watching. We got a lot of good stuff coming up. We've got a Ferrari 308 to do some engine work on, take the engine out and do some other work on that as far as cooling system. Well, you'll see. Stay tuned to European Autocraft Studios. Please subscribe, watch, like, and there's more good stuff coming. And we'll see you next week. It's this Saturday for the 944 Turbo Project.